Recording, okay. Good Tvach, everyone, and welcome. Motzei Shabbos, Sichos Haran. I will share the screen with you. Just give me a second here. And here is, that's not what I actually wanted. All right. So we will be learning in Mitzvah Hashem. Hold on. Share screen. Sichos Haran. All right. Here we go. We will be learning in Mitzvah Hashem Sicha Mem Hey and Sicha Mem Vav. This is what we will Mitzvah Hashem discuss tonight. So first, Sicha Mem Hey. Achal Lev Nishbar Ba Simcha. After a person has reached a state of Lev Nishbar, it is followed with Simcha. Rebbe says, "V'zeh siman." This is the sign. Im hoyel lev nishbar. How would you know that if you had is a lev nishbar and you didn't have, you weren't depressed? K'she'achar kach bala simcha. If you remember, we learned a sicha. Actually, we I think that we jumped here. And now the Sicha. Sicha Mem Gimel will jump. We'll get to it in Mitzvah Hashem. In Sicha Mem Aleph, the Rabbeinu says, Lev nishbar v'atzlus eino inyan echad klal. A broken heart and depression is not one and the same at all. Lev nishbar balev. A broken heart is in the heart. Aval atzlus ba min atchol. The depression comes from the spleen. The atzvus shehu me'atchol, and the depression and sadness that comes from the spleen. He sitra achra v'Kodesh Baruch Hu soinei isa. Kodesh Baruch Hu hates it. Avalev nishbar, however, a broken heart is sweet before Hashem. Is a chaviv v'nei Hashem Yisbarach. Ki avalev nishbar yakom me'oid beinav Yisbarach. Okay, and it says, Vayatov, it would have been wonderful, She'elo lev nishbar kol hayom, that the person should have a broken heart all day long. Achanashim ke'erkechem, but people like you, yocholim lavo milev nishbar la'atzvus, it's very easy to do the transition. It's a slippery slope from a broken heart to depression, to sadness. You have to designate a certain hour during the day that you should have a broken heart. A person should make his boidedus and break his heart before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. However, the rest of the day, you should have, the entire day should be only b'simcha. Because Baruch Hu has ordered us quite a few times. The Rabbeinu ordered us quite a few times. This ametz v'lisgaber, it's to be very, very strong, and it's there's a certain kind of sovereignty that one needs to exert. Okay, the answer is I don't know. Okay, so the thing is that the reason why this is the heart and this is the spleen is something that I don't know. What I can explain, I will explain what it is that I can, and if it helps you, then it does. He says, however, they're very, very close, and it's very difficult to tell the difference. Okay, and he's the entire day should be besimcha, and just to have, for 1 hour Lev Nishbar. And he says, and Rabbeinu warned us a few times, to be misametz, to really stress and to work hard. ולסגבר שלא יהיה לנו לב נשבר איזה שעה ביום. You have to put a great effort not to have a lev nishbar except for one time at all. רק איזה שעה ביום, just 1 hour during the day. ועצבוס and sadness, כלל לא, not at all. ושאר כל היום יהיה בשמחה. A little explanation of what's the difference between the two. And Mimela, what is the mokar from the Lev Nishbar and the source of Lev Nishbar and the source of Atzvos, that this is in the heart and this is from the spleen, can be seen a little bit in Siman and base in the next Sicha. It says, Atzvos ukmo mishu bechas v'roiges. It's like somebody who is angry. The spleen and the liver are close to one another. In enough midas rois, that the liver is kovet koyas. The liver is anger comes from the liver. Depression comes from the spleen. These are the avarim that are being used as hosts for the midas rois from the tzad of sitra achra. Rabbeinu says here in Sicha Mobes, "V'atzvus ukmo mishu beroges v'chazer beroges, kmo misha misram u'mislein lav yizbor chas v'shalom," like somebody who is upset with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Is upset with the Kodesh Baruch Hu chas v'shalom. She'eina oisel retzonah. You're not doing what it is that I want. Aber lev nishba hu keben hamischat yifnei aviv. It's like a son who is trying to do tshuva before his father. Like a baby that is crying and is complaining for his father, that he got further away from him. So the inyan of Lev Nishba. Lev Nishba is when you take a look at yourself. Atzvus is when you take a look at the Kodesh Baruch Hu. In other words, you are in a situation where you are far from Hashem. Hashem is his greatness is beyond anything that can be imagined. And as we are going along, time is passing by. Every single moment that we are spending on Inyana Olam Hazeh is kos Gan Eden, kipshutoi. As we said, that Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler from Yichtav Eliyahu says, like, what is the cost of a piece of cake? We spoke about it in a fancy restaurant. 50 shekels for a piece of cake. But the truth is, every single moment in this world that the person could do a mitzvah, when a person does a mitzvah, he gets Gan Eden, any kind of mitzvah. Big, small, it doesn't matter. And in Michtav Eliyahu, I think the second letter, he writes about what is the magnitude, what is Gan Eden. Because he talks about this, it's a sikha that deals with schar mitzvah behai alma leika, that there's no schar for mitzvah in this world. So explain why there is no schar for a mitzvah in this world. He says, because what is Gan Eden? He says, Yofa sho achas shel olam habo, shekor hasuach shel olam habo. The enjoyment, the pleasure of olam habo of 1 hour. In other words, it's like an instant of olam habo is greater mikol chaye olam hazeh, is greater than all the life in this world. So he says, what does it mean? It means that if you take all the moments of happiness you've ever had in your life and you add them all together into one single moment, says, can you imagine the intensity of this pleasure, of this happiness that you'll have? Says, now you take all the people of your town, all the points of happiness they've ever had, all the chasans, all the new babies that were born, all the bar mitzvahs, all the first prizes, all the successes, all the pleasant surprises, everything of your entire town. And you put it into one, and you add it into you this one moment of yours. You can imagine this is an explosion of pleasure, which is impossible to imagine. It says, now you take all the people of your country. We spoke about it once. All the people of your country, every single moment of pleasure and happiness they've ever had. You know, all those that won the lottery, all those that had successful, that won championships. I don't know what that you can think of. All those who sat and got the happiness from learning Torah day and night. They woke up every single minute, and you condense it all to 1 minute. You add it to your minute, and then you take all the people in the world, every single point of happiness they've ever had in Africa, in Russia, in America, Kamchatka, the Aborigines in Australia. I don't know, they had to, they threw a boomerang and they got themselves a kangaroo. The first time they got a kangaroo. Whatever it is, any kind of happiness they ever had. And you take them all together and put it into one single moment. And you feel this moment. So, but this is just the beginning. He says, Kol Chai Olam Hazeh. He says that means all the points of pleasure that ever existed from Odom Arishon into the future that there ever will be. All the point of pleasure that includes Matan Torah, that includes Kriyas Yamsuf, that includes Am Yisrael and Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu comes says, listen, everybody, we're getting out. You build a Mikdash. David HaMelech winning over Goliath. Shlomo HaMelech building the Beis HaMikdash, getting on his knees. And the whole, everything does not come to one instant of the Koras Ruach of Gan Eden. How long does it take to earn this? Probably about as long as it takes to eat a piece of cake. So what happens if you take a piece of cake and you eat it? And you eat it because, this is a yummy cake. And you concentrate on the olam hazeh that you get out of it. Well, now you're talking about a really expensive piece of cake. It may be, a piece of cake, but a very, very expensive piece of cake. So what happens is that a lev nishbar is when you take a view of where you are, where your davening is, where your learning is, and how much do you actually trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu? Let's be real for a minute. Let's just put things down. When the Kadosh Baruch Hu does whatever he does with you, how much do you trust that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is a loving Father that wants the best for you at every single moment and with every single thing that he does? The only thing that he has in his mind is just to do good for you. What are you holding as far as this is concerned? That's the difference between Lev Nishbar and Atzvos. Lev Nishbar means that, look what a father I have. Look what kind of life that he gave me. Look at all these treasures. Every single moment I can do a mitzvah. Every single moment I can learn Torah. Every single word of Torah is olam haba. It's treasures beyond imagining. And look at me. What kind of thoughts I have in my head? I walk in the street, I see something that I should not see. What are the thoughts that are coming into my head? Do I hold on to them? Do I not hold on to them? Am I looking to make sure that I actually saw something that I shouldn't have seen? What that really? And then you bring it all to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's a lev nishbar. It's where am I? What's going to be with me? What's going to be? I'm living my life right now. I'm living my life right now. You're sitting there with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you can have a merdika thought. As I said it once before, that may seem to be as like the most duh statement ever, okay? But HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you. Well, yeah, your point is, he created everything. So what are you going to say? No. Do you understand what kind of intimacy there is between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu? You are Olam Shalom. You are a complete world. You are a whole world. You have a full world. That's why murder Shemirachem is an offense in any country, any religion, any whatever, because everybody understands that once Shemirachem, somebody is killed, the entire world was annihilated. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you. You have this unique connection with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you actually sit and think about it, when you talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can reach a certain nekuda that you realize HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not just somebody who's like, okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here and I'm here and I'm talking to him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you, which means that on a deeper level, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is you. On the most basic level, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is you. And there is like a blockage between the cognizant you and the essence of you, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why it says in Kriyat Shema, he says, "V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol levacha v'chol nafshecha v'chol modecha." You should love HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chol levacha v'chol nafshecha v'chol modecha. And what does it follows? It's a whole set of instructions. The question is, how can you possibly love somebody that you've never seen, somebody you don't know? The answer is, every person loves himself, has an inherent self-love. Even the people who hate themselves because they love themselves. And they're upset with themselves for making themselves the way they are, or causing themselves pain, or making the mistakes that they did. It all comes from self-love. Self-love is an inherent thing. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is the most you that it can possibly be. He is the motherlode out of which the you is separated, kevayachol. And the separation is done with that bulb of cognition, that bulb of what they call chalal panei. The Kadosh Baruch Hu created, the Arizal explains the Kadosh Baruch Hu created, and within it all the olamas. There's a chalal panei that separates you from the understanding that you and Kadosh Baruch Hu are actually one thing. And the it's a little bit difficult for me to relate to what you're writing in the very middle, but I'll take a look at it. And every time and that when you are working on yourself and you're doing the mitzvahs, what you're actually doing, you are opening up, you're revealing the Astara. What you're doing, if I understand correctly, let me just take a quick look. The Shechina, you're making a yichud, should become in this world. Yes, this is exactly what we're talking about. The Shechina is the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. So whenever it is you do a mitzvah, you are kaviyachol bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu into the bubble, as it were, inside that chol hapanoi, inside the elements. This is the reason why we actually have this in of that when you have removed or commensurately with how much you were able to remove the anonim, the clouds that mechasin aleinu, as much as you are capable of doing that, this is how much you are giving the Kodesh Baruch Hu presence in this world. That's the reason why Benu says in Torah base that this is Shelaf Tzrochov v'Shivcha Shel Makom. That first of all you praise the Kodesh Baruch Hu. When you praise the Kodesh Baruch Hu, you are actually giving a recognition for Hashem's Baruch in this world. So Kodesh Baruch Hu can reside in this world. There's an expression of Kodesh Baruch Hu in this world. And that's the Shilas Tzrachov, because the Shechina has grown, because the recognition of Hashem has grown. So Lev Nishbar is, when you take a look at what this world has to offer to you, and you realize, what am I actually doing with it? And it breaks your heart. It just breaks your heart. So much is possible. And now I'm watching TV. So much is possible. And now I'm playing with marbles. So much is possible, and now I'm eating cake. But this is a Lev Nishbar. Atzvus is the opposite. Atzvus means, why is HaKadosh Baruch Hu not doing for me what it is I want him to do for me? It's really apikarsis. Why is it apikarsis? Because basically what you're doing, you are serving an imaginary God. What do you mean? If you don't believe that the Kodesh Baruch Hu is a merciful, all-loving, constantly loving Father, whoever it is that you're worshiping is a false idol. That's not a Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's somebody else. I'll never forget, my father-in-law of Shalom was he came from a reform background. So he told me as much as he knew, and he said that a friend of his married a shiksa, and they had a son. And one day that son was electrocuted and died. And so my father-in-law was very shaken. And he said, I want to tell you something. And I don't want to hear an answer. I just want to tell it to you. So I said, okay. So I said, he spoke to his quote-unquote rabbi, Rabbi Ronnie. That was the name of the rabbi in the temple. And he said, if God can do something like this, that maybe there is no God. That's what he told Rabbi Ronnie. Rabbi Ronnie said something rather incredible. He said, who said that God does the bad things? Maybe there's somebody else who does the bad things. So even though my father didn't want me to say anything, I said, I liked your answer better than Rabbi Ronnie's. So he was all shocked. He says, what do you mean? I said, if you can do this, then there's no God. So, yeah, that's right. The kind of God that you are thinking about, that it does not exist. It does not exist. The Rabbi Ronnie's God does not exist. It's a false God. It's an idol. It's a shtus. Insidiously by us, when we get sad because Hashem does one thing, it's because we suspect him for being unfaithful, untrustworthy. Now, the thing is, the reason why we would come about to feel that way usually comes from our own personal story. We all grew up. We all had parents. We all had people of authority that we dealt with, and we were let down many, many times. And it's a very ready association of doing copy paste, taking your father and do a copy paste onto HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if your father promised you an electric train and didn't deliver, you copy paste and you put it on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If your father told you things and it did not, and if your father betrayed you or he kept you waiting or whatever it is a natural but ready transfer. You put it onto HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's not really an indictment when you start out by saying, listen, I trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but ultimately I have a suspicion that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu will do what he wants to do, the very same way that my father did whatever he wanted to do. And therefore, whatever kindness that I ascribe to him, whatever magnanimity that I ascribe to him, it's totally fickle. It's totally up to him. It's arbitrary. If he feels like it, he will do it because he is good, not because he really cares about me. I am somebody who nobody cares about. This is this. There needs to be a break. There needs to be a break that in this kind of mistrust between a person and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, for this, we need to understand that by nature, we all act out of our story, whatever our story is. That's the default mode. If it is a sense of betrayal, it's a sense of that I'm not worthy of being loved, I'm not worthy of that, I'm worthless, or whatever it is that a person's story might be, it's the default mode. You're acting out of that. The only way that you cannot act out of that is if you actually say, though I am acting out of this default mode, still I want to do it differently. I want it to be different. Meaning, you bring it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and you say, Ribono Shel Olam, I'm coming to you with a lack of trust. I won't reveal it to anyone. Everybody will think that I'm really this good Jew with a long beard and past and everything, because nobody knows what's in my heart. But the truth is that in my heart of hearts, I believe in you, yeah, but I don't trust you with my heart. It's not because I don't want to. Chas v'chalila. It's because that's my default mode. That's my story. And I'm acting out of my story. So I'm asking you to please remove this. Then you're taking the atzvus and you're making into a lev nishbar. In other words, the idea is not to find out, there's another fault of yours. You're an idol worshiper. No. To the Kodesh Baruch Hu, tell the truth. This is the way I am. That's where I come from. But I'm moider. I know it's not the truth. But I can help myself. That's why I come to you. This is a lev nishbar. When you put your cards on the table, when you are telling Kodesh Baruch Hu the way it is, that is a lev nishbar. Look at me. I can't even believe in you properly. Yeah, that is a lev nishbar. It can very easily, if a person is, that's what Rabbeinu says, you have to put a great effort not to go around with it all day long, because you're naturally acting out of your story. Your story is lurking on the surface. That's your default mode. The minute you remember this, the frustration, here I go again. I have great fear of rejection. So if I have great fear of rejection, obviously I will invite it already. I will cause it to happen, because the only thing that is worse than rejection is the wait until it actually happens. So I want to help it along. I know it's going to happen. Sooner or later it's going to happen. So let's just make it happen already, get it over with. So because I won't have the tension until it happens. It's very easy to come from Lev Nishbar into Atzvus. So Rabbeinu says, no, you have to work very, very hard to be besimcha. And not let Lev Nishbar 1 hour, that's it. Then you bring it all on. The rest of the day is kula simcha. Is kula simcha. Atzvus klal, no atzvus whatsoever. And Rebbe says that when you have a lev nishbar, when you have managed to reach the level of a true lev nishbar, that means that you have said your piece. You have said your truth. And when you said the truth, if you have said your truth, HaKadosh Baruch Hu heard it, and you heard it. A channel of communication has opened. The intimacy has been revealed. And there's no bigger simcha than that. When you feel like Kadosh Baruch Hu is on your side, that you are riding together with the Kadosh Baruch Hu in the police car, riding shotgun with the big sheriff in town, the biggest sheriff there is, right? You riding shotgun in the worst neighborhood. Gun killer gets a mavis lawyer, Kiata Imodi. Kadosh Baruch Hu is with you. It means that your very existence is blessed. No matter what it is, your very existence is blessed. There's no bigger bliss than that. Now, with your permission, let me just open up, allow you guys to open up the microphones, so to unmute yourself and contribute to the Sicha. So say whatever it is in your mind regarding this particular Go ahead. Let me just read here what it is that he wrote. Sorry, when someone is, since he can maintain his confidence, Hashem will always only do what is good and best for the sinner, even though one sins. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Rabbi Pinzauer says, when somebody sins, can he and should he maintain his confidence that Hashem will always and only do what is good and best for the sinner, even though one sins? Yeah, the answer is for sure. And the reason for it is because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is a little bit like Waze. You know, in the car you have Waze. So what happens is that when Waze tells you, on the second turn, turn left. Okay. What happens when you don't turn left? Okay. So it goes, and then mechashev maslul mechadash, recalculating the route. Whatever it is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you'll get back to where you need to get. The trip will be longer. In other words, when a person sins, yeah, you can have total confidence in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will lead you back if you want to get back. Yeah, absolutely. That in fact, all the bitterness that we go through in our lives at any given moment in time is actually a signal from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that there's a lack of a lakus over there. And the way to actually break to break through is to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for it. Not just for the good stuff, but for when the pain is, when the trouble is. When you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's a law of nature. I'm telling you, it's a law of nature that you'll have Yeshuas. You have tremendous Yeshuas. When somebody sins, the main thing is, trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu, come back to him. Take a look at Menashe HaMelech, what he went through. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu did, whatever it is, to actually bring him back. Menashe HaMelech killed, 1,000 people a day, moving the idol from one side of Yerushalayim to the next. And the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu dug a tunnel underneath Kisei HaKovod to make him so he'll be able to do tshuva again. 100%. In fact, I don't want to bring this up because this is getting into a very touchy inyonim of Yediyah and Bechira, which is not something that we should be spending, a public forum discussing. But if you take a look at the Shiva Amudim of Rabbi Yitzchak Breiter, and you take a look at this eating of Averis and sinning, it will open your eyes about this particular inyan. Basically, what he says is that an Avera is a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're on the wrong path. It's a result. It's not a cause. It's a cause for afterwards. A cause for lack of amun. It's a cause for apikosis. Yes, but milchatchila. Why did they do this? Why did they? Take a look. Take a look at the Shiva Amudim, and you will see exactly what he says about this eating of sinning. It's quite astonishing, and very difficult to explain, in a forum like that.
You're making reference to the little booklet, 7 Pillars of Faith?
Yes. You should read what he says there about the tzaddik. Amazing. There's the Maisa that Nasa'im to say, Motza Shabbos, Maisas from Baal Shem Tov, that we said it once before, that Reb Nachman Rondenki, Rabbeinu's grandfather, was the Baal Shem Tov's Ne'eman. He was, his messenger, and had all the keys to Baal Shem Tov's house. I mean, he's like he came to his sister, to Rav Nachman Derka's house, together with Baal Shem Tov. Mashal had this long, we said he had this long pipe on the floor, and he spread eagled on the floor to light the Baal Shem Tov's pipe. His little, and his sister got upset with him and says, "What are you doing?" So he said, "Listen, you don't have the kind of das that I have, because had you known who he is and what he is, you would think that he was the Kodesh Baruch Hu himself. But I have a bigger das than you. No, he's just a tzaddik. He's the tzaddik. But if you would know what does it mean, you would say, well, that's a Kodesh Baruch Hu." There's a famous saying by the Maggid from Mizrich that says, "Shir Hashem Shir Chodosh," sing to Hashem a new song, Tilosai B'kal Chasidim, for his praise is in the congregation of Chasidim. He says you have to invent new praises for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because the Chasidim are already using all Hashem's praises for the tzaddik. Tilosai B'kal Chasidim. That's what the tzaddik is. That's what the tzaddik is. Rabbeinu says so mefurish. He says, from me you can tell the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And after all, what am I? Just a shtickle person. What a tzaddik is. What a tzaddik is. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. It's really, that kind of pendulum between Lev Nishbar and Atzvos that we are oscillating. That's the main milchama, because the main effort is trust in the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and in order to swing the pendulum towards the Lev Nishbar, in order to swing the pendulum towards opening a portal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the only thing you need to have is you have to want to. You have to want to do it. You want to have that kind of trust. And be honest about where it is that you're holding. Because the minute that there's denial, like any kind of addiction, denial, forget about it. Denial is worse, than a sin. Because you'll never even know that you're not in the ball game. The minute that if a person sins and knows that he sins, he can come back to this world and says, look what I did. I can't believe this. But when a person is in denial, says, what are you talking about? It's he or she or whatever it is that move my cheese. It's like he did it, she's doing it to me. Every time, that I do something, my wife comes to me, this one comes to me, that one comes to me, whatever. It's always somebody else's fault when I'm in denial. The minute you open it up, it's okay for you to be who you are. In fact, it's the only way to be. It's the only way you can serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu is if you come from where you really are and put it all on the table. Ad kedei kach, I remember many years ago, Hussein Ralev told me, they had in Uman, I remember in Uman, there used to be Mishmeres Hatznius, where there were enough people that you could sort of police, So various people would come to Uman, just like it's a trip, whatever it is. So some would go to town, whatever it is, and they would do all kinds of things that were not recommended. And the Mishmeres Hatznius, would go, and they would actually beat up people, people that did things that were really out of line. They'll go beat them up, put the fear of God in them. There was one guy, which they didn't touch. And that guy, every single night, I mean, we were there for a week, whatever it is. Every single night, he would go into town and do whatever it is that he did. And then by day, he would come to the tzia and he would cry his eyes out. What did they do? What am I doing? And at night again, he would go into town. We'll do the same thing. And by day, I would come to Rabbeinu and says, look at me. What did they do? Nobody touched him. Nobody touched him. How would they know not to touch him? No idea. I don't know. Rabbeinu knows who to touch and not to touch. And himself, he got out of it. It's an addiction. He got out of it. Baruch Hashem, he got married. The whole thing is straightened out. Kadosh Baruch Hu is not impressed by people sinning. What Kadosh Baruch Hu is quote unquote impressed by is that people sin and they just throw it, behind their shoulder. This is me. I'm a good Jew. I don't know what you're talking about. If a person keeps on falling on the same thing over and over and over again, and comes to Kadosh Baruch Hu and opens it up and begs the Kadosh Baruch Hu to help him. So listen, I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't care. The devil made me do it. I don't know what you're saying, whatever it is. But the point is that I keep on doing it. I keep on doing it. And I can't help it. I don't know what to do. This is not what is called oime echta v'oshuv. That's not it. This is somebody who is oisek b'tshuva. That person's nisayon is to go through it and to realize that even though I fall, this is one of the next Sichos talks exactly about that. Even when it seems to a person that Gehenna is it's too light a punishment for me. Still, should hold yourself Kadosh Baruch Hu. Don't let go. Because ultimately, as Rabbeinu Torah knows, you don't know what Kadosh Baruch Hu wants from you. You have no idea. You have no idea what your real test is. You have no idea what actually you had a choice, what actually you didn't have a choice. Truth is, it's not your business, to start figuring out what's my test, what is not my test. This is not what it's about. That's a prescription. That's a road to perdition. To say this is my test, it's not my test. The thing is, the rule of rules is you don't let anything break you. You don't let anything drive you away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not a mitzvah and not an avera. And you trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu with everything. Like, listen, you go to a doctor. What do you do? Doctors, you take off your clothes. If you trust a doctor with taking off the clothes, Kal v'chomer HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You take off your clothes. This is who I am. That's the way I am. Inside and out. Okay. This is the Sikha for tonight.
Very nice. Thank you so much.
B'ezrat Hashem, the Sikha will be posted in Telegram and in Hashem on YouTube. And so B'ezrat Hashem, first of all, thank you very much for being here tonight. And
See you Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to stay on. I'm just going to ask if anybody wants to. So the Likud that Rabbeinu is saying here is that once you've gone through your process of Lev Nishba, and to dedicate that hour of your Lev Nishba, and you have a good cry, and you feel Hashem is close and is listening and is connected, and that you're connected through your crying, and therefore the rest of the day in its entirety should be just for simcha. So whatever goes on during that rest of the day that you're
But
supposed to,
you're mixing two things. You're mixing two things. He said, when you feel connected, the automatic result is simcha.
okay,
That's one thing. The second thing is that hour dedicated to Lev Nishbar, the rest of the day should be besimcha, regardless of where you connected or you didn't connect.
so that's the point I want to talk about. So you spent your hour for Lev Nishbar. The rest of the
Right.
day,
Yeah.
the rest of the day is the simcha. Whether you feel that way or not, that's where your mind and heart should be. The
Yes.
simcha. So therefore, whatever's going on in the rest of the day, it doesn't really matter anymore. In other words, the nekuda
Yes.
is that you are b'simcha.
Yes.
Even if crazy things happen, it doesn't
Yes.
matter
Yes.
because it's a simcha.
Yes.
And that in of itself becomes an avodah.
This is the hardest avodah of them all, I've said.
But in a sense, it could be the most intimate avodah because that's showing your confidence in Hashem
That's
that
right.
you're supposed to be b'simcha now.
That's right.
And if the tzaddik tells you you need to be b'simcha now, it doesn't make a difference what's going on in the world because you're listening to the tzaddik. But listen to the tzaddik, you listen to the eitzah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore you're showing that you're connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu because you're being b'simcha no matter what.
Absolutely. Rabbeinu says that this particular avodah of being besimcha and keeping yourself besimcha no matter what is the hardest avodah of them all. That's more difficult than chatzos and vasikim and fasting and everything. This is the hardest avodah of them all.
But in addition to being the hardest avodah, it really provides, it demonstrates your trust in Hashem.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. It's like, the test is saying, I'll stand behind you, I'll fall back and I'll catch you. Kind of thing. That's what it is.
That therefore is really a demonstration of your restored emunah in Hashem, and your restored bitachon in Hashem.
That's right.
And therefore, being b'simcha is almost a demonstration that your tshuva has been miskabel because you're in a state of simcha.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we spoke about in the Kutam on Thursday, we said that the Arizal said if you are able to daven a whole shmones without machshavas zoros, means all your averos were wiped out.
I paid attention to this over Shabbos by the davening. I had this Torah in mind by my davening. My litmus test. What's going on?
All right. Well, that's exactly what the way it should be. A person keep it in mind. If a person wants to know what is Olam Haba is like, should listen to the words that are coming out of his mouth, not only during davening but bichlal. It's a gewaltige Zach. It's a gewaltige Zach.
Thank you very much.
Very, very good. I'll send you a message on WhatsApp. So I have probably.
If you have the Shiva Amudim, I don't have it. You have a link to it or something.
I don't. Well, search it online. I know that they translated it and that the Breslov Institute have it in English. The seven pillars.
But they have the original online also.
They do. They probably.
I know. I'm saying.
I don't know. But it's a radical book. It's it's a different. It's a different.
writer.
Yeah. It's he doesn't mince with words. He just says the way it is, and it brings the emunah to a whole different level. It breaks you totally from the way that this world thinks into a rarefied air level. And if you find yourself grappling with the concepts, yeah. You realize there's work to do.
I'm gonna look for it, Mitzvah Hashem.
Bezat Hashem.
I'm gonna take a look for it.
All right. So Mitzvah Hashem, we'll see you on Monday night. Mitzvah Hashem.
Good, great, Rabbi. Just great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Call for the following call to.